Italiano, Italian word of the day for today, Friday, 20 October 2023 is Durata, which translates to English as duration. And duration is how long it takes something to happen. So, for example, some things are really easy to define. If somebody has the same breakfast every day, the duration of them having breakfast is however long it takes them to eat that. If somebody switches it up or kind of grazes, that might not be as clearly or well defined the duration it takes that person to eat breakfast. Another example is you quit one job and then another job / school. First quit one job on 30 October 2019 and then the rest on 31 October 2019. And I moved all my stuff out of my office. That took, the duration for that was about 2 hours. Before the start of the business day, I had formal letters, keys turned in, everything out of my office in my car and stuff, and then drove back to where I was living. And before midnight that night, so less than 24 hours, it was less than 30 hours or 36 hours total from the first resignation to me arriving at this very house on 31 October 2019 from California with my first load of stuff. So that was less than 36 hours for me from moment of quitting to arriving back here with my first load of my stuff. And then, so that one's a little bit more defined, but then there was the getting the rest of my stuff. So I drove all the way from California up here to north of Seattle and Washington State, then I drove back down, packaged stuff up in bins and put things in bins. My boxes were falling apart, so put stuff from boxes into bins. I still have some boxes. I disassembled an elliptical, that kind of stuff, and then my dad flew in, and then we drove my stuff back up, and we got here. I think it was like 13 November 2019. So in that case, it took closer to 2 weeks to move from the first quitting to moving all of my stuff was closer to 2 weeks. And so sometimes moving can be a long process. And sometimes it can be a short process. So if we took, for example, the videos where a video where I name a place where I might want to move with my soulmate and or soulmate as a starting point, then moving for me this time around, if I move in with my soulmate and or soulmates, might take a long time if we take that video and or videos as the starting point. However, from the point of my soulmate and or soulmates showing up to move me home, that might be very brief. Like, for example, once my dad got to California, we loaded all my stuff up, and it took approximately, it was an hour and 17 minutes, hour 18 minutes, hour 19 minutes, something like that, to load everything into my car in the U-Haul to move it back to Washington State. So if my soulmate and or soulmate showed up, my stuff's already in bins. I don't have the elliptical to move, that kind of stuff. Depending on how many people or my soulmate and or soulmates show up, and if my dad and mom are here and or want to help, kind of thing. And if I help, or am I taking videos and uploading it to YouTube or that kind of stuff, is it going to be, I wouldn't probably go much faster than an hour and a half. Do they just show up, we load everything up, put it in whatever vehicles we have, they bring any extra bins that are needed and stuff like that, and then we take off? So it could be a really fast turnaround like that, or does it take like we move to Bellingham and it's an intermediate stop before we move to Italy, or before we move to Russia or Hungary or Scotland or Norway, kind of, or Ireland, that kind of thing. So it would be Russia, Norway, Scotland, Italy, Ireland, Hungary, Bellingham, you know, that kind of thing. Is there a bunch of stops? Is it my soulmate and or soulmates come tell me we're going to move together, but I continue to live here while we communicate and figure things out? Or is it somewhere in between? Like, it took me 2 trips to bring all my stuff back from California to Washington State. Is it going to take multiple trips? Or is it going to take 1 trip that was a little bit longer than both of the trips last time? So like my soulmate and or soulmate show up, but we decide, since some of my stuff is dispersed throughout the house, like on bookshelves, some of the books are mine, some of the books are not, do we take an overnight, and then we have you know, Kyle and Nicolo sleeping here. There's a pull-out bed over there. Get Leon and Andre sleeping on that one. Maxime and Groove say either on the floor in the family room in the middle level or on the floor of my room. Here we get G-Eazy or Lorenzo Galossi or Sun Yang or Zobo Sly Dominique or Adam Lang on the couch in the family room, and then Jacob and my Sejong in the guest room, and we spend the night or a night or 2 or 3, I don't know, to move stuff home. Do we give my parent, as part of that duration, there's the moving stuff. Do we have, what about the critters? Are we taking the critters? Do we need a night to get them all, make sure we get all the critters if we're taking them with us? Do we need time to, if we give my parents, let's say we give them a lump sum for both of them, $10 million, or we give them $10 million each if we have that means to, do we give that to them in check and go to the bank and deposit it with them? Or do we wire transfer it? Or do we direct deposit it? And do we need to go through, do we want to make sure they get the money like while we're here? So that kind of stuff is their finances to figure out before we leave. Do we close any accounts before we leave, or is it really just the stuff, and then once we're moved out of here and into our new place, wherever that may be, then do we tackle those accounts? And then there's the duration of, so then them arriving, but the duration of that move, if it was one big move that potentially took a few days, there's the duration of they arrive, we load everything up, we get it in there, we travel to wherever we're going, okay, it's there, and then we gotta unload everything. So I guess the arrival to final unloading would be kind of the duration of that kind of moving. How long does that take? And that's for the physical moving. And then there's the, you know, online mapping moving as well, which is the videos. So it can be easier as the moving, I'm finding in my life is sometimes much, much easier to define in hindsight than in advance and or when one's going through it. But duration, how long it takes something to happen, or how long, yeah, that kind of thing. And in Italian, that is durata. Happy